If they don't do pharmacy, they're gonna just they're gonna lose the entire Tumblr demographic. And what will they do then?
Yes, and
Fair point. Hey there, everyone. It's been a little while. It's been 2 months. It's been since the new year. That's crazy to think about. Our schedules have just sort of been all over the place, but we've got some good stuff to talk about. Small party today because, as I said, schedules have been weird. But we just have we have our buddy Ian here today. How you doing, Ian?
hello, how's it going?
We both are tired and woke up pretty recently, so we sound a little groggy, and that's fine. I'm sure it'll wear off as the episode goes on, and we gradually get more and more. What's the word we should use here? Impatient with Overwatch. But yeah, we have some good stuff to talk about today. Primarily, we're going to be talking about season 9 and the stuff surrounding it. We also have some stuff regarding the dev team to talk about. We have the lack of a new map to talk about in a Afara rework, but we'll get to that in good time. For now, I think we should start off with our general thoughts of how has Overwatch been this 2024.
Hit and miss. Perhaps a bit more missing than hitting.
Yeah, I'd agree with that. It's, they released Mauga, and I was super excited about it. But I don't know. I feel like obviously Mauga is still very fun for me to play, right? Nothing's gonna change that. But
Yeah.
I don't know. I feel like the current environment and some of the changes they've made to him and the game itself have made him challenging, shall we say. But we'll get to that when we talk about the balance patch. Maybe we should start with the event for the season, the Eldritch theme. What's the name of it?
The event itself is called Cosmic Crisis.
Cosmic Crisis. Okay.
Overall, I mean, I guess the season's just called Champions, so it doesn't really have a Eldritch name for the season. It's just the event.
Yeah. So we sort of have three things going on simultaneously, don't we? We have the Eldritch thing, we have the Chinese New Year, and we have the Valentine's event, all simultaneously happening.
Yep.
It's a little unhinged. I'm sad the Loverwatch thing didn't come back. That was
Yeah,
funny.
that was
That was
it was
genuinely
disappointing
funny.
to see it not come back. It was a very fun, different sort of thing they did last year, and yeah,
I can't.
none this year.
I can't believe we didn't get to dating simulator Reaper. Can you, man? How could we lose out on that chance? That's awful. Anyways, so yes, the Eldritch Cosmic Crisis thing. I don't know about you. I think I've played a little bit of it. I think it's fine.
I think it's pretty good. I think the whole trader mechanic is sort of the focal point of it.
Mm-hmm.
It's very meme-esque, where it's like, haha, I betrayed my friends, and if you're playing on Legendary and you choose trader, screw the rest of your team, they're going to lose now.
Seriously, it's that bad on Legendary?
Yeah, for the most part, yeah, but I love that about it, because it's it's all about screwing over your friends, which who doesn't love that?
I've played enough D&D with you to know that. So, yeah.
Honestly, I think it might actually be the best. It might be the best individual PvE mission we've actually had in Overwatch 2, as far as I'm concerned.
Really? Simply because of the trader mechanic?
I mean, the trader mechanic's fun. It's just a good, solid shoot at PvE bots. I'm not quite sure why, but for whatever reason, it just feels more fun and replayable than the Underworld mission, which I think is its closest equivalent we've gotten in the past.
Mm-hmm.
I think just like the pacing of it and the length of the mission and the actual objectives of it, they've really refined into just a fun, simple, fluid, shoot some bots, try to survive. It's not that terribly difficult. It's actually remarkably easy overall,
Mm-hmm.
save for the trader mechanic, which basically throws a wrench in everything. I've been really enjoying it. Like, honestly, it's kind of made me a little optimistic about the future of PvE, because like we all know that the whole story campaign is dead in the water. That's not happening anymore. That's just donezo.
Really? You think it's just done?
Maybe there'll be another mission set at some point within the next year, but even that, it's like, ugh, I'm kind of hinging on that probably not happening.
Really? You never think we're gonna get that section that we got teased in the end of the first one?
No.
Really?
No, I don't think so. I mean, this is going way off topic for today, but like the PvE missions we did get back in Invasion Season 6, those were terribly received.
They were?
Nobody liked those. The only people who liked those are people who are very fixated on the story, which, let's be honest, there aren't very many of those people playing Overwatch 2 at this point. So it was kind of a big flop in that regard.
So, too little, too late, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
And like the way the story missions were implemented was not great. And I think we're sort of seeing that with the fact that, for all intents and purposes, Cosmic Crisis is just another Underworld, which was like, the like little standalone mission thing that came out back in Season 6.
Mm-hmm.
But Cosmic Crisis is in the arcade. It's not in the missions tab, like where Underworld was and where the story missions still are. Which to me is evidence that Blizzard is like, all right, we're done with the whole like missions thing. Like that whole PvE thing is done. The future PvE is periodic arcade modes like Cosmic Crisis, like Trials of Sanctuary. And honestly, if we keep getting PvE one-off modes like Cosmic Crisis, I'm cool with that. I like that. I enjoy it. It's fun. I hope that's what we get PvE-wise going forward, because I think there'd be a waste of time and effort for them to do anything else, honestly.
That's fucking
unless they wanted to really ramp up and do something completely different, but like they already tried that once and it didn't turn out well.
That's
so
fucking crazy that it seems like they just pissed 3 years away.
Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff internally that was going on that we will never really get a good look at, that I'm sure was a factor in it as well. But yeah, I think it was overconfidence from the dev team, over ambition, over promising, and it just didn't pan out.
Sort of like the Overwatch League, honestly. The Overwatch League sort of ended up cooking itself. It tried to be more than it reasonably could be. But, yeah, so Cosmic Crisis. I haven't really played a ton of it. I've played 1 or 2 rounds. I think it's fine. I really have only played Sigma, but I could also probably play Torb. I don't know. It seems fine. I like the trader mechanic. I think it's really funny to... I haven't played it on Legendary, but I think it's really funny to play as Sigma and just wreck the enemy team that's entirely consisting of squishies. It's very funny. So, yeah, that's my thoughts on that. I don't really have a ton to say on... Well, there's no story aspect to it. It's just sort of like, welcome to the void and fight some robots. It's weird. There's no story plot line that I think they're ever going to go with this. Sort of in a similar way to Star Watch. I don't think we're ever going to get much of an expansion on this. But
I'd say it's possible, entirely hinging on how popular it ends up being.
Okay.
Because I mean, I think people have been receiving it pretty well. Mm-hmm. Granted, at this point, the community has extremely low expectations for anything PvE related, so I think that's probably a factor in it. But, like, I think about what they did with Mischief and Mayhem, where that came out back in Season 5 initially and was incredibly popular, and so they brought it back for this year's Lunar New Year event as, like, a a new map, new props, and everything.
Yeah.
Even tweak the mode a bit. And I'm willing to bet that only happened because of how popular it was back in Season 5.
Right.
So if this PvE mode is super popular, which I don't know, I wouldn't say it's super popular. I don't think people have been excited about it on the same level as Mischief and Mayhem initially. Or Mischief and Magic, whatever. If it's popular enough, Blizzard might continue it. Or at least do similar things, even if they're not a direct sequel to the Cosmic Crisis,
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, I like the concept. I love Eldritch cosmic horror stuff, which makes this inherently interesting to me. I will say it's a little bit of a cartoony depiction of cosmic horror, but I don't know what I expected. I guess it's Overwatch.
Cartoony to begin with. So,
yeah. Which, I mean, then again, we sort of have Sigma, which I'd say is like a genuinely good depiction of cosmic horror, but I'm not sure they could really do that with an event. That's more of a very specific character thing than sort of something you can put an event into. And I think going off of that, we should talk about the skins that have come with this. The Mythic is good. I like the Moira Mythic. It's you know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of, you remember the announcement trailer for Diablo 4?
I think so.
It was when they announced Overwatch 2. And like what's the enemy of Diablo 4? Lilith or something? She had these big like blood I don't know what you would call them. Just things. She had like these blood wings or something like that. Filaments, or I'm not sure what you would call it, but it sort of looks like Moira's outfit is made of like just bloody sheets of flesh, which is a little weird, but I like it.
I guess so. I would say it has more of like an eyeball aesthetic, where it's like sort of this like muted white sort of color, and then like the red veins.
Yeah, that's what I'm thinking.
Sort of
yeah,
feel from it. But then the other color options each have their own aesthetic. Like there's one that looks like more stony.
Yeah,
with the cracks in it.
That's one I like.
Yeah, all around, it's a pretty cool Mythic. I'm hoping it's a new sort of trendsetter for the direction of Mythics going forward, but I don't know. We'll see.
It's an improvement over Garchomp Orisa.
Most definitely, and Hanzo's Onryo skin.
So yeah, that's good. I also really like the masks thing that you can do.
Yeah.
I think personally, I'm just gonna go with the like empty face, like no mask. That seems good to me. I don't know. Do you already have an idea of what you're gonna do with your Mythic?
Either that one or the one where it's like the vertical slits in it.
Okay, so not the face.
No, the face is probably my least favorite, but even that one's pretty cool.
Really? Because for me, it's between the face and just empty.
Yeah, I like the creepiness of having just like this weird inhuman mask with like the slits, and then you just see eyes behind it. Like, I find that really terrifying, which I like.
Right. Makes sense. She also has the two variations of her injectors, I think is what they're called, on her arms. They I don't know. They barely look different to me. One has the spinny little chains, which I think are fun, so I'm gonna go with that. But
I like the tentacle one. I think I'm gonna run, once I unlock it, the green like tentacle color scheme, the tentacle arms, and then the slit mask.
Makes sense. All right. So yeah, that's the Moira Mythic. We also have the biblically accurate Angel Lifeweaver, which is so good.
Great.
I love that. It's I don't so I don't really understand why Lifeweaver, but it's very funny.
It just fits him so well. I don't know if you can explain it. I think that's part of the point. It's unexplainable.
Eldritch.
But it fits him perfectly.
Yeah. I like that the eyes are red, though. I'll say that. I think it would have been. They could have gone the safe route and just like made them like regular eyes, but like they decided to make it creepy, which is
Oh yeah.
good. So yeah, I love that skin. If I didn't have to buy it, I would definitely get it. And in that same pack is the Sigma Mythic, which, I mean, I've always been asking for an Eldritch Sigma skin. This is not quite what I would have wanted, but it's pretty good.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I think it's a good one. I mean, obviously, as like a legendary skin, it's not going to be as grandiose as if it was a Sigma Mythic that he got for the season, but it's as good as I would have expected them to pull off for a skin like that.
Right. Yeah, I think I talked with you about this before. It doesn't feel very personalized to Sigma's brand of cosmic horror, which is unfortunate. But it's fun. I like the mask, and I think the tentacles on his shoulders are pretty funny. I don't know why they made his fingers and feet so dirty, but I can ignore that.
Been rooting around in the dirt.
I want to know what that's even meant to be. That's the thing. I don't even know what it's meant to be.
Somebody in my chat the other day mentioned that it looks like Frostbite, which it kind of does. I don't know if that was what Blizzard was intending with it, but I like the idea of this person just being like Sigma's just like so exposed to the elements in this devoid form that he's just acquired Frostbite, is like dying. Otherwise, I think it's just like, oh, he's just like a grungy cultist type person. He's just like utterly neglected personal hygiene at this point.
Excellent.
Like even beyond like what you would do.
So yeah, that's season 9. What else do we have? We have the like Torbjorn Cthulhu, which I think is funny.
Nah, I really like that skin.
If it weren't for Surf and Splash, I think I would definitely go with that. But unfortunately, Surf and Splash is just probably the best Torb skin they'll ever make.
Probably.
So I'm not going to switch from that. Besides that, I'm trying to think what else they have. They have an Alari skin, but no one gives a shit about Alari.
The Eldritch Epic skins are all kind of underwhelming in that like they're all just mediocre for the most part. There aren't really any standout epic skins for the Eldritch theme specifically.
Right. What is kind of standout though is Ramen Bastion. That's a bizarre one.
Yeah, the wild card of the season.
What the hell?
What a goofy idea.
That's... Yeah. I kind of want to know how they came up with that idea, but I doubt I'll ever get the chance. So yeah, that's the season 9 cosmetics. I think we should probably move on to the lack of a new map, which is something I think is very notable. I don't think enough people are talking about that.
Yeah, people really haven't been bringing that up, and I wonder if it's just people are so preoccupied with the balance changes and the competitive rework, like no one's really thinking about it. But yeah, there wasn't a new map. I don't know. Maybe people are just so pessimistic at this point that they see no new map and are just like, yeah, that checks out. And just move on. Like maybe that's the case, but it is unfortunate. My thoughts is that it's probably a similar thing to what they did in season 5, where the reason there's no new map now is because they're going to be getting a double map release imminently.
Right.
Probably with the new Clash game mode coming out. There's probably going to be like a couple maps launching with it. Yeah. Which, for all we know, that might end up being season 10 now, based on what's happened here with no map in season 9.
Right.
So, I don't know, maybe we have that to look forward to, but for now, it definitely sucks that there's no new map.
Yeah, I mean, have they even shown maps that they have in store? Is that...
There's the Peru push map that we saw images of at BlizzCon. Other than that, I don't believe there's anything that's been shown off in terms of upcoming maps.
Right.
Well, I mean, there's the Hanaoka Clash map, but like, yeah.
Okay, sure.
Those two are all we have.
Right. Anyways, so yes, no new map. It's unfortunate. I get the sense that there's just so much chaos right now that they might just not have the bandwidth to get a new map packaged and launched.
Yeah, I do also wonder that. I'm not going to say this is necessarily likely to be the case, but I wonder if with the layoffs that happened and Blizzard, like Team 4, realizing, oh, this is going to super hinder our content production pipeline for the foreseeable future, if they like at the last second decided to delay the new map for season 9 so that they could release it later to have more content to fill in during the inevitable drought we're now going to be getting in like the
Right.
latter half of 2024. Um,
Well,
like maybe
yeah.
that was the idea, but like I don't know.
I'm speaking of which, let's talk about that. These layoffs. It sounds like there's some major chaos in Team Four. It's I mean, basically they just like half of them got let go or something, right?
I don't know if it was half, but like quite a few people.
Yeah, that's never good. It. I know you were saying this. Everyone was like heralding the Microsoft acquisition as like the savior, and here we are, yet again in this
I mean,
situation.
in the long run, it might benefit Overwatch. It'll be a
Really.
rocky road to get there, but maybe it will end up turning out well. But at the time being, I mean, I mentioned this to you before when we were talking, but I think Microsoft, at least when it comes to like Blizzard and games like Overwatch, is basically just there's so much just like shit in Blizzard when it comes to just like all the bloat of stuff, whether it's because something Bobby did or just COVID overhiring type stuff during that era or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it is. Whatever sort of issues might be in there, I think Microsoft has taken the approach of just bulldoze it and rebuild it from there.
So they're cleaning out the gutters with the power washer.
No, they're removing the gutters and throwing them away to install new gutters.
Okay,
They're not cleaning anything. They're replacing things.
got it. So it's kind of scorched earth protocol with this. Great.
Yeah, because and like I get it from Microsoft's standpoint, it must be way easier to just do that. Why try to like nitty gritty find, oh, this isn't working, this is working. Why pick and choose between these little things and waste all the time, money, and effort to do that when you can just sweep it all away and then just build what you know works from the get go? Like,
Right.
I get it. I get why they're doing it. It sucks though. It's going to suck in the short term. It really sucks for the Overwatch dev team because they're getting hit hard by this. But in the long run, this might end up being the best thing for the game. We don't know.
And why do you think it might be the best thing?
Because it might just be the most brutally efficient way of fixing the problems that exist internally.
Like
Like
disorganization?
disorganization, people who maybe, are hired for a job that no longer exists necessarily, which is the idea behind layoffs.
Mhm.
I don't know. Like, I don't know enough details about what's actually going on internally
Right.
to say whether or not that's like the case. But from Microsoft's standpoint, it's like, yeah, I see why they're doing this. And at the same, there's also the factor where it's like a lot of people are like surprised this happened. And I was like, how are people surprised? This literally happens every single time a big company buys out a different remotely big company. Like, this isn't new. It's been happening forever. And yet people are still shocked when layoffs happen when an acquisition like this goes through.
Okay, that makes sense. It just sounds like there's such chaos there that it's yeah, it's gonna be a problem for a long time. It sounds like the art team was really disrupted, especially the primary, like the main writer, is gone yet again. So how many have we gone through now? We've gone through
Uh,
Chu. We've gone through who else?
I think it might actually just be two.
Really? Okay.
Two lead narrative directors.
Okay. It seems like it's
Yeah.
been more than that. It feels like
It
we've gone through
does.
five or six.
No, I think in terms of just like lead narrative people, I think it's only actually been two. But yeah, I don't know because I'm interested in seeing if there's like a new person they bring in to replace the one they just let go.
Yeah. What, you think they won't have one? That'd be strange.
I don't know. I mean, maybe Microsoft is like, oh, you don't need to do the lore. Story is not worth the time and money.
I mean,
I don't know. Maybe that's their approach. You tell me you're a Halo fan. What
What do you mean?
you have more experience with like being a fan of games controlled by Microsoft than I do.
Oh, so what can I tell you about Halo? Well, the way that Microsoft has handled Halo, especially in the last decade, has been if something doesn't work, they tell 343 to do a 180. Or they'll kind of heavy-handedly basically say to them, no, this plot point won't work. It's not as, it's not as advertisable. Do something else. Halo 5 was a perfect example of this. I think it's probably the best example of this, where the marketing team was actually basically controlled directly by Microsoft, and had almost nothing to do with the development team. And so the marketing was really, really cool. It was excellent. Made people very excited for Halo 5. And then Microsoft saw the actual story that was being written by the dev team and basically said, oh, this one thing isn't as marketable. Do this other thing that will invalidate the entire plot of the previous game. And then they released that, and it had nothing to do with the story that was being advertised in the marketing. I kid you not. The stuff that happens in the marketing of Halo 5, completely unrelated to anything that happens in the game. And it's probably worse with Halo Infinite, because Halo Infinite just seems like throwing their arms up and saying fuck it, and just ruining everything. So, yeah, that's what I can tell you.
I don't know, maybe they're doing a similar thing with Overwatch. They took one look at Pharmacy and was like, alright, you're out.
Hey, I'm not going to complain about maybe getting rid of the idea of a, 37-year-old and 24-year-old? And yeah, it's a little weird. I'm not huge on it. It always rubbed me the wrong way. Especially considering that the way they met was like when Farah was a child and Mercy was already a doctor.
Yeah, it gets pretty weird when you look into the actual timeline and the origins of all that.
It's a little weird. I'm not super cool about it.
Look, it sucks that the lead narrative director lost his job. That's never good. I hope he finds work doing his own thing. But it is kind of funny if he got fired just because Microsoft is Gen C is more marketable than Pharmacy, and that was the only reason he got fired.
No comment. No comment on that one.
You don't think that Microsoft was what can we market more?
I'm going to be real with you. I think 90% of people don't give a shit.
Well, yeah, but still, that 10%, which is a bigger market demographic.
Yeah, that's fair. Then again, if they think about it this way, if they don't do Pharmacy, they're going to just they're going to lose the entire Tumblr demographic, and what will they do then?
Yes, and
fair point.
You're assuming that wasn't the intention.
Fair point. All right, so yeah, that concerns me. The guy getting laid off, and so we don't know what's going on with the story. I hope this doesn't mean just another complete story revamp.
God, yeah, who knows. I mean, it's either going to be another revamp or there's no story from here on out.
That seems like a missed opportunity, though, because it seems like there's a lot of demand for story. It's just that it's probably not going to be in the form of PvE. The short stories have been good. The books have been good. I've read those. The animations have been good. A Great Day was phenomenal.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't gotten a cinematic in ages, but I'm sure one of those will drop eventually. And I don't know. We could also just get a TV show, which people have been begging for 6 years. Which, I mean, after Arcane, I think is less crazy than a lot of people previously said.
I really don't know. I do not know what sort of approach Microsoft is going to take with all this. They could maybe follow in the path of something like Arcane, or maybe they're just like, that sort of stuff is a waste of time and money.
Well, they also made a Halo TV show. Now, granted, the Halo TV show is dog shit. But
You're saying we're going to get a live action Overwatch TV show
no, I desperately hope not.
where
And hopefully it's not
Roadhog
dog
takes
shit.
off his mask.
Oh God, no, not that, please, not that. Actually, no, that would be funny. I kind of want to see what he looks like, but no, I don't think it would be live action. I don't think like Overwatch is a lot more cartoony than Halo. I feel like it would have to be animated. I don't know. I feel like it would be maybe a little bit of trouble to get a 7-foot tall guy walking around in like 6-ton armor and a guy who floats constantly to work in live action. So yeah, I would expect it to be a TV show, which I'd love. I think a TV show would be ideal because then they could actually tell stories. And I know that we have like we've talked about how the what was it, Origins or whatever series that they've released, Genesis, yeah, how it was like, yeah, it was kind of mid, but it was a good idea. I feel like
I think it was fine, save for the fact they chopped it into 3 like half-second episodes.
Yeah, I agree. I think overall things like that aren't chopped into 3, and maybe ideally it could be put on a streaming service. That would be huge. But that would be fun, I think, and I think it would scratch an itch that a lot of Overwatch fans have had for many years at this point. And if recent trends have shown anything, it's that animated shows are doing well.
I don't know about that.
Really?
I mean, there's the whole thing within the past year with like Warner Bros. Being like, you know what? Animated content isn't worth the money.
Oh, no. Don't get me wrong.
Everything.
Don't get me wrong. Yeah, they're axing stuff, but that doesn't mean that a lot of shows aren't doing well. I think it's kind of agreed upon that them doing that is a mistake, because you have a lot of shows that are really doing well. You have like Invincible, which is doing really well. You had Arcane, which did amazing. Legend of Vox Machina is good. That did really well. Has-Been Hotel's breaking records, so I don't know. I can't really say any more than that. It seems like it's doing well. So I feel like if there's ever a time to look at, especially after how well A Great Day did, I feel like maybe this would be the time they kind of put the rubber to the road and maybe try and make a show. But we'll see. I'd love to see it. I don't think there's many people who wouldn't be excited about an Overwatch TV show.
No, I think it'd be huge. People would love it, no matter how good it is. But it's just that thing where it's like, are the people in charge, do they want to do that? And it seems like so often it's the case that they just don't. So
we'll see. Anyways, the next topic, I think we should maybe start talking about the actual patch. Should we? What should we start with, Ian? What part of this patch do we want to tackle first?
I don't know. Where does one start with all this?
Maybe we should.
I guess we can talk about the sweeping changes, the health buffs and hitbox changes.
Okay, yeah, we can start there. Yeah, they increased every hero's health by like, what was it, 15 to 25%, which is fucking crazy. But they also made hitboxes significantly larger. What are your thoughts on this? Because I think my thoughts have largely crystallized. I'm not sure about you.
I think it's not nearly as big of a deal as most people have made it out to be. I think it feels good, but there are certainly several edge cases that have proven to be a problem. That, I expect Blizzard is going to hammer those out as time goes on.
Right.
They've already said they're looking at a few things in particular going forward that they're going to patch in the near future. But for the most part, it's like, it's an interesting idea for improving the game, or at the very least changing it. And I think for the most part, they did a good job with it. I think it worked out reasonably well.
I think my thoughts are basically that I think the hitboxes are maybe a little large, and they could maybe shrink them a tiny bit. I definitely have found that I'm not a fan of the health increase, though, because it just makes breakpoints hell. It's just hell. There are a lot of situations I find where you put a lot of resources into killing an enemy, and the larger health just means they just don't die. Like you put a ton of resources into them and they just don't die. It's frustrating. I'd say especially as a tank player, it's frustrating because the tanks really lack the oomph to break through. A lot of the tanks, at least, lack the oomph to break through these larger health pools, which I think is really unpleasant. I will say that's sort of my thoughts on it. I think from the perspective of a DPS, it's probably better, and it's probably actually a good thing for supports, save for the DPS passive. But yeah, as a tank, it's not great. What do you think?
I think it depends on the tank you're playing. Like for one thing, like breakpoints, the whole thing. I think overall, this patch is very much a patch and a series of changes that were made to appease casuals, which basically since the launch of Overwatch 2, we've seen is the direction Blizzard is taking with the game. And as a pro casual myself, I've not really had much issue with that. Well, like you have to consider that the average Overwatch player, the average person who plays the game, has fun with it, but doesn't really like get super invested with it, don't really operate within the mindset of characters having breakpoints. So, like, they shoot until the thing dies. They shoot something that's low over something that has, like, more health or whatever. They don't really think about comboing Sigma's rock and hyperspheres to, like, perfectly kill a soldier or something like that. So to them, the idea of, like, breakpoints being screwed up with all this is, like, moot. But, like, what was the other point I was trying to make there? Just like, the DPS and like support and tank stuff. Yeah, it depends on the tank you're playing, because I think almost ironically in a sense, because people have complained so much about how much like modern tanks just rely on self-healing as like a thing, like Junker Queen, Malga, and Roadhog all basically they rely on healing themselves in order to tank.
Yeah.
And this has just axed them right in the back. Like,
yeah.
Because now the DPS passive just devastates Malga, Junker Queen, and Roadhog.
Oh, it's awful.
The healing passive.
Malga suddenly feels so much worse.
Like Junker Queen also kind of benefits from the knife getting buffed technically with the hitbox increase.
Mm-hmm.
But like still, it's one of those things where it's like I wonder. It feels so blatant for those three tank heroes that I feel like Blizzard had to have been aware that they were going to get impacted in this way with this patch. Mm-hmm. And I'm like, were they okay with that? Were they like, okay, these heroes need to be nerfed in this way, so we're going to just let it happen? Or like, is this something they're going to plan to retroactively adjust and tweak for those given heroes specifically going forward? That's my sort of thoughts on it. But like, if it's a tank hero that doesn't rely on healing itself, then it's not as devastating in that regard. In fact, I would say most tanks actually kind of just skirted by just fine with this change. Some of them even seem to benefit.
Yeah, on the defensive side, I agree. But I think on the offensive side, I think for Malga, it doesn't particularly matter. Except for some edge cases. I think Malga does enough damage that this only matters a very minimal amount. I wouldn't cry. I wouldn't complain about getting that 0.5 damage per bullet back at this point, but it's not bad. But I think the other tanks that I've played so far, except ironically Winston, which I can't really explain, are having a lot of trouble with these larger health pools, like on the enemy team. I think for Ball, it means that you have to spend a lot more time just being a nuisance rather than actually trying to confirm anything, which is not great, but I don't know, it's a taste thing, I guess. I found that for Roadhog, it's really bad.
He suffers bigly.
It's really bad. Because Hog has always been the breakpoints character. Like, the breakpoints character. And so, yeah, this is terrible for Roadhog. JQ, I don't think she really has the means to punch through the health either. Sigma definitely doesn't, unfortunately. It's easier to hit those spheres, but those spheres are not doing nearly as much as they used to. I generally find that you hit something with Sigma, and by the time you've fired your second shot at them, they're probably already at high enough health again that it's not going to do much. So yeah, playing Sigma into these new higher health pools just feels awful, if you ask me. And that's not even counting the breakpoints. It's just that he doesn't have enough oomph to really cut through this massive blob of health that the enemy team now has. Zarya is fine, I think. Reinhardt, I don't think ever really mattered for Reinhardt, frankly.
He was suffering yesterday, he's suffering today, and he'll be suffering tomorrow.
He'll be suffering tomorrow. I think Ramatra also kind of suffers. I think if there's ever been a time to implement the thing I've been saying they should be doing with Ramatra for, ever since he came out, which is to have like a physical punch do more damage, it should be now. Because, yeah, the shockwave on the punches is fine. It's still, 4 punches still causes a lot of havoc, if you ask me, but whatever. A physical punch, though, doing more damage, I think is important now, because, man, the fact that Nemesis form is kind of just like flailing around a wet noodle. One that you can't kill, granted, but you are flailing around a wet noodle, is, it's not good, I don't think, because I think a lot of people, I think the idea of Nemesis is that it's supposed to be used to get in and, like, do things. He can't really do things now. He runs in there, he maybe hits a few people, the people get healed up, he almost dies, or he does die, and the cycle continues. So, yeah. His Omnic form is fine, though. I think his Omnic form is pretty much fine. I don't think there's any problems there. What do you think? You play him more?
I disagree with you on a number of points. I think Ramatra benefits from being able to just hit things easier. I think if they were to buff the damage of his punches, it would inevitably come with the accompaniment of nerfing his movement speed while in Nemesis form, because otherwise he could just go in and just murder people, like, to a stupid degree.
Which, granted, I think might be fine, but okay.
I wouldn't want that. I'd prefer lower punch damage and keeping the movement speed he has. He definitely benefits in Omnic form. See, I feel like a lot of the tank heroes that sort of hinged on, like, being, like, intentionally nerfed with how hard it is for them to hit things and thus be able to deal damage have been sort of benefited in a weird way with this patch. Where it's like Ramatra's little, like, piss trinket gun that just shoots out the nanites.
The
Doritos. You can actually hit things. Yeah,
the Dorito hose.
Hit things with it now.
Yeah, I call it.
You can actually, like, deal damage to people consistently instead of just sprinkling it like you're just, like, peeing off a roof onto someone.
I call it the Dorito hose.
Yeah, it feels so much better now to be able to consistently hit things. And Wrecking Ball is the exact same way, where it's like, one of the most annoying things about playing him historically has been the spread on his weapons is insane.
Yeah.
And it's so hard to hit people, and now it's easier to hit people. And it feels so much better because of that. Is Wrecking Ball actually better now? Is he actually in a good place? Overall, no. He's still Wrecking Ball. He still sucks ass. But, like, he feels a lot better to play. And is technically better, I believe, in this patch. I believe overall he has been buffed. He's just still Wrecking Ball. So
so one thing, on a slightly off topic, I want to ask you, one problem I have always had with Ramatra is the fact that in his big buff form, he does less damage than in his little dinky twink man form. What do you think about that? I've always had a kind of fundamental issue with it.
It's a very different ability because his punches pierce. You can hit multiple people. You can hit everyone with a single punch if they're in the right spot. It passes through barriers. It's, if nothing else, it's a very psychologically terrifying ability, as opposed to, again, having someone piss off a roof at you. Like, having a big man punching you in the face over and over again, even if it's doing less damage, that is psychologically terrifying. So, like, I guess pro players aren't affected by that sort of thing, but like, it still has the weight of big man who you can't kill is in your face punching you. And when he punches you, he kills the person behind you. Like, there's a lot of like, I think funny. His punches are not to be underestimated.
That's a fair and funny point. Yeah, I never really. The thing is that I've never really perceived Ramatra as much of a threat. It's just because I know his numbers, and so I'm like, okay, punch me. I'm gonna be able to do a good amount to you before you can kill me. So I
think with the punches, it's like there's nothing you can do to stop it. His Omnic staff, like, you can block it with a barrier.
Yeah.
You can eat it with Defense Matrix, or Sigma's Grasp. You can deflect it as Genji. The punches, you can't do anything. You can't stop that.
Well, actually,
unless you have like a Zarya bubble, like, you're just going to take that damage.
I think deflect actually negates the damage, I believe.
Okay, it might, because if it's the same as like the Reinhardt hammer, then yeah, I guess it would. But like, still, it's like so many of the conventionally defensive mechanics and tools that heroes have to deal with incoming damage just don't work against the punches, which is why they're so intimidating.
I guess again, it's a knowledge thing where, because I know his numbers, I just see him running at me and I'm like, okay, so that's 60 damage. He swings once per every 0.66 seconds. That's not okay. It's that sort of thing. I don't know. I just don't fear him. He says suffer as I have, and I say you're doing 30 damage per second to me, buddy. So yeah, okay. Anyways, Reinhardt sucks because he's Reinhardt. He, as you said, he sucks yesterday, he sucks today, and he'll suck tomorrow. D.Va is good. I think D.Va actually benefits from this HP increase because D.Va was never just obliterating people in the first place.
Yeah, also she was never hard to hit in the first place. So it's not like the bigger hitboxes like nerfed her in any capacity.
So I think it's probably just a net positive for D.Va. I think it's definitely that way for Winston because, like, Winston was never melting anyone anyways, but now, like, it's so piss easy to hit things even as Winston compared to before that, like, when are you not going to be doing the damage? Like, basically, I've played Winston a few games, and I'll put it to you this way. Holding down the left click as Winston now is basically just Ramatra ult. You need to do nothing. You barely need to be looking in their direction, and you will be doing the damage. So,
yeah,
which is good. So it's good for him. Even if the breakpoints mean he has to do it for longer, he's so consistent now that, yeah, you're going to see him a lot, probably. What else we got? Orisa. I think this is a negative for Orisa, because Orisa wasn't dying anyways. This just basically means that she now has a lot less ability to do anything to the enemy, which I think is probably not good. She kind of lands in the same category as Sigma, where she just kind of lacks the oomph now in a lot of cases. I'm trying to think, who else am I missing? And then I realize, him. Oh, right. The misfit. He who does not belong in this category. Yeah, Doomfist. Doomfist is fucked. He's in a worse spot than Reinhardt. Like, Reinhardt was having a bad day yesterday. He's having a bad day today, and he'll have a bad day tomorrow. Doomfist was like experiencing the apocalypse yesterday, is experiencing the apocalypse today, and will be experiencing it tomorrow. It's This is so bad for Doomfist. It doesn't matter if they increase his damage; it changes nothing. The people I've been seeing playing Doomfist, holy shit! They maybe spend 20% of the time not in spawn. It's like 80% of the game is spent on the respawn screen. It's bad. It's really bad. Yeah, I think this is probably the worst case scenario for Doomfist. And you know how Jazz always said, oh, they should just forget about Doomfist and say whatever? I feel like we've genuinely now gotten to that point where they just don't give a shit about Doomfist anymore. They're just like, oh, he sucks. Oh yeah, he was designed to suck. It's tank Doomfist, what do you... Oops. I almost feel like they intentionally don't care anymore. Which is funny, because they did this to themselves, but... Or should I say, it's a different team that did this to themselves. It's different people, but yeah, they kind of been left with this. So yeah, no, that's the tank role. I think on the offensive side, a number of tanks are probably going to need some sort of buff if they want to function as anything other than a doesn't die machine, which is what people didn't like about Orisa for a long time and still don't like about Orisa, and I think this actually makes worse. On the defensive side, I agree with you. I think this is just... It's so... The DPS passive is so ridiculous against tanks. Just in general. Not even just the ones who self-heal. Just in general. I feel like the best way I can describe this is that I was playing as Sigma, and I was doing pretty well. I was hitting things. I wasn't killing anything, but I was hitting things. And, I was blocking damage. I was doing what Sigma does. And all of a sudden, I think it was a soldier or something, successfully flanked our team because no one was fucking paying attention. And I get shot at a few times, and I'm like, all right, come on, heal me. And like, my healers literally just physically couldn't keep up with the damage. And it was a singular soldier. It was, oh my god. It was just, I don't like the idea, the conspiracy that the Overwatch devs just hate tanks. But, like, this feels like it, man. This feels like a targeted offense.
I don't think it's that bad, personally. I think, if anything, it feels more fitting in that it's like, you shouldn't necessarily be able to just out-heal the incoming damage. I think that's always been a wonky-ass element of Overwatch as a game, the idea that it's like, you are shooting a man with a rifle, and there's someone just pumping darts into the back of the person you're shooting, so you're just not hurting him. Like, you're just objectively losing that battle because they heal more than you deal damage. Yeah. That always felt bizarre to me.
Okay.
So I kind of like that they're negating that to a sense by saying, oh no, if you shoot a man with a gun, it is actually more damaging than if the person is just sitting in a hospital bed while you're doing that. So, like, I like that. And I think for a lot of tanks, they have ways of sort of mitigating that. I think dive tanks in particular, the reason characters like D.Va and Winston, and even Wrecking Ball, I think is probably benefiting to this, is that, like, they jump in and then jump out. Mm-hmm. And once they jump out, they're not taking DPS damage, so they're not being debuffed, mm-hmm. so they can heal properly. And that's why I think dive tanks are going to be pretty strong going forward with just how things are. But like Sigma, he throws up the barrier, and he's not taking DPS damage, he can be healed. Or, like a character can move mm-hmm. out of the way. Zarya can bubble herself and hide behind cover. Mm-hmm. And it really is the self-healing tanks who are suffering the most. Where it's like, oh, they hinge on being able to actively heal while they're in there tanking, doing things, taking damage.
They are their own
They're
shields.
They're the ones suffering. And that's where it's like, okay, I think maybe they actually have to revisit those tanks specifically.
And this is true with Ramatra too. This is true with Ramatra too. He in Nemesis form, I've noticed he melts a lot faster. He blocks, but that's still taking damage. So I've noticed that it's bad for him. I already mentioned it's bad for Doomfist because the same thing applies.
Doomfist very much suffers. I think Doomfist, more than most tanks, suffers from just the hitbox size increase because a lot of his tanking was just he's moving so much and like he's not huge in terms of hitbox to begin with. So like a lot of shots are missing him, mm-hmm. and he's sort of hinging on you whiffing your shots for him to get in there, do his thing, and get out. Mm-hmm.
Lord knows
more
that,
so than the other dive tanks, I would say.
yeah, Lord,
So like, I think he's suffering. Yeah, he's suffering all around, basically.
Lord knows that was my game plan when I played DPS Doomfist, which it was just like, well, I hope they don't hit me. They usually did, but I can always hope. Yeah, I think this tank or this DPS passive is good for like DPS versus DPS, but I think for tanks it's just sort of blatantly not a good thing. But that's just me. I feel like tanks already suffer enough, and it's stupid to add another layer to that. We're gluttons for pain, aren't
Yep.
we? Oh god. We also have speaking of this patch, we have the Pharah rework. Have you played it? I've like maybe touched it once. It was whatever.
I've played it a bit.
It just feels like I'm playing Quake.
Yes, that's exactly how I describe it. She feels more Quake-esque now. It's more about moving around and doing crazy sort of like jump around, get in, get out, get in, get over there, all while you're dealing damage to people, as opposed to hovering rocket platform, which is like I like the new version of Pharah because it's more movement focused and I think is more just inherently engaging as a playstyle. In terms of like how balanced the character is now versus before, I have no idea. And I don't think anyone has any idea because I've seen nobody talking about that other than that Mercy isn't nearly as good with her anymore. Because again, it's not just a hovering rocket platform that Mercy can just perpetually fly to and hover next to. Now she has to actively keep up with the movements of Pharah, which Mercy just can't do with the limits of Guardian Angel. So
yeah,
you know, that sort of throws a wrench in that whole thing, which, like, personally, I don't mind. I know a lot of people have an issue with it.
I don't mind it.
It's an interesting rework. It's one that I'm inclined to say I like.
It barely even seems like a rework.
But again, I don't even play her that much. It's so minimal. It's like, this was such an interesting one because it's a rework that, like, definitely Blizzard themselves, I don't think, have even officially referred to it as a rework. Like, they didn't put out, like, the rework, like, new abilities thing on Twitter like they always do with the other reworks. I think it's just, like... And part of that is because how do they market this as a rework? She technically has a new ability, but it's just a horizontal jump jet. It's like, there's nothing tangible to grasp onto with this rework and explain, oh, now Pharah is this.
Yeah,
whereas
they just tapped on a new ability to her, yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, there's no way to, easily convey the new play style unless you just play her and, like, realize, oh, this is how she works now. It's a very weird one, and it is very minimal, but I think it's actually going to have quite a big impact for the character, and I think it's going to be a good change. So I think it makes her just more interesting to play, if nothing else.
Yeah, this as much as I tend to not like reworks, this seems okay. It sort of gives me hope that, like, if they ever do a Hammond rework, it'll be a rework, quote-unquote, where maybe it's something like, when he uses adaptive shields, it gives his allies shields too. It's like, okay, yeah. That's fine. Okay. It's which would be nice. But we can hope. Because if they come for Wrecking Ball, I think we can officially say that identity in this game is dead. So it's yeah.
There's no identity in Overwatch.
There's no identity. There is no consistency of hero fantasy in Ba Sing Se. Yeah, it's I don't know. I think the rework is fine. I don't have much to say about it. I like not having to fight Pharmacy. That makes me happy. Other than that, don't have much to say. It's harder to hit her as Mauga now. I can tell you that because she moves more.
Yeah.
That's sort of it. Despite the larger hitbox, it's actually harder to hit her now. I think we've covered our topics, actually, haven't we?
I think so.
We kind of blew through that one, which I guess is okay, as frankly, not a ton has happened except until very recently. January was very quiet for Overwatch. The last time we did an episode was right after Mauga released and there really hasn't been anything between then and now. So, yay. Look at us, Ian. We finally did a fucking episode.
Yeah, and it was like relatively organized and coherent.
I know.
Straightforward and not 7 hours long.
Hopefully it won't be 2 months before the next one. That'd be nice.
Well, who knows? Maybe it'll be 2 months before we have something worth talking about again.
I mean, to be fair, if we have nothing worth talking about in Overwatch, I will just start talking about DRG on this fucking podcast. So,
Uh-huh.
it'll happen. Like, I got something.
We'll be joining you for those episodes.
You'll be joining me, yeah.
Solo episodes.
Nah, you'll be coming. You like DRG?
Only if we do as many Fortnite episodes as DRG.
We can mention Fortnite. Will that make you happy?
It's not good enough.
Oh my fucking god. All right. Well, I think that's it then. I think we're done here, and Ness isn't here, Ian. So you're gonna have to give us our closing tweet. Oh my god. I mean, it probably should read like a tweet. That's because I thought tweet because the stuff that Ness says sounds like something you'd read on Twitter. That's what came to mind.
Yeah, it's got big Twitter vibes.
So we'll run with it. Give us your closing tweet.
That's my tweet. I don't tweet, so it's nothing. It's just silence.
I mean, you tweet out when you post a new video.
Check out my new video, everyone. Subscribe to Mastery and Gamer on YouTube for news and live streams for Overwatch 2. Yo!
Yep. Okay. Well, please like and subscribe my stuff too. This is gonna take at least 3 hours to finish, and I appreciate it. So, anyways, that's it. Thanks everyone for being so patient with us. Scheduling's a bitch. It shouldn't be this long until the next one, but we'll see. So thank you for listening, and I will see you later. Bye.